Welcome everyone to a brand new explainer. Today, we're unpacking a genuinely fascinating piece of historical and theological text, Surah Al-Anbiya, specifically verses 48 through 92. It's the 21st chapter of the Quran, and the title literally translates to The Prophets. But here's the thing, we're not just reading history today. What we're going to do is extract some incredibly practical, everyday life lessons from this ancient text. Because this passage, it isn't just a list of historical accounts. It's an absolutely profound guide to human resilience, divine mercy, and how to stand firm when the going gets tough. I'm super excited to guide you through this, so let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. 1. A time of great trial. 2. One unified prophetic message. 3. Profiles in courage and wisdom. 4. Patience, repentance, and mercy. And 5. Practical lessons for today.
Section 1. A time of great trial. To truly grasp the impact of these 44 verses, we first need to understand the intense, absolute pressure cooker environment they were originally revealed in. So I want you to just think about this for a second. Where do you turn when it feels like the whole world is literally against you? It's a feeling of intense personal adversity, right? Well, that perfectly captures the historical context of our source text. The early Muslims were facing severe persecution, social ostracism, and fierce theological disputes from the Quraysh in Mecca. They desperately needed spiritual fortitude, and the text provides exactly that, by showing them that the trials they were facing weren't unprecedented. They were actually part of a much longer, grander historical pattern.
Now, what's really interesting about this historical timeline is that these verses were revealed in the late Meccan period, specifically between year 10 and year 13 of the Prophet Muhammad's mission. Notice that starting point, year 10. In Islamic history, that's known as the Year of Sorrow, a period of immense personal and communal loss. Right after this, just before the Hijrah, or the migration to Medina in year 13, this surah was revealed. It functioned as pure spiritual solace. It was essentially a lifeline, telling a persecuted community, hold on, you're part of a much greater legacy.
Section 2. One unified prophetic message. At this point, the text shifts away from direct arguments with the Quraysh, and instead it delivers this rapid succession of past prophetic narratives. And the bedrock of this entire passage, it's Tawheed. According to the text, Tawheed is the core doctrine of the absolute oneness of God. Our source material uses this exact concept to weave all these different historical prophets into a single, unified spiritual brotherhood. It's saying that regardless of their historical era or geography, every single prophet delivered the exact same essential message: worship God alone and uphold justice. To do this, the text uses a literary technique called parataxis, which is basically just a rapid-fire succession of narratives without a lot of connective transition. Boom, boom, boom. We see Moses and Aaron representing divine guidance, then Abraham challenging idolatry. We see Lot delivered from a corrupt society, and Noah delivered from the flood. The text tells these stories with minimal detail, specifically to focus your attention entirely on the overarching pattern. A prophet calls his people to monotheism, faces massive rejection and hardship, turns to God, and ultimately finds divine vindication. The text also draws a really fascinating rhetorical parallel here. It explicitly compares the Torah given to Moses and Aaron with the Quran, and it uses 3 very specific words for both texts: Furqan, meaning the criterion to distinguish truth from falsehood, light, which dispels ignorance, and a blessed reminder. Classical commentators like Ibn Kathir point out that this is a brilliant rhetorical strategy. By describing both texts with the exact same terms, it validates the continuity of the prophetic tradition. It's challenging the audience to recognize that, hey, you're looking at the exact same divine source here.
Moving on to Section 3, Profiles in Courage and Wisdom.
These figures we're talking about aren't just names in a history book. They are living exemplars of specific virtues. Let's look at Abraham. The text dedicates a significant chunk of verses to his story, highlighting a very specific and honestly brilliant intellectual demonstration. So Abraham smashes his community's ancestral idols, right? But he leaves the largest one completely intact. When the people question him, he casually suggests they ask the big, remaining idol what happened. It's a total masterstroke of rhetorical irony, specifically designed to expose the logical absurdity of idolatry. And when his community retaliates by literally casting him into a fire, the text states God commands the fire to be coolness and safety. It's just a wildly powerful narrative about how truth can challenge entrenched tradition, and how ultimate sovereignty belongs to God.
And this brilliantly illustrates the diverse ways wisdom is portrayed. Look at David and Solomon. The text recounts a complex legal dispute they judged, which involved a field and some sheep. Now, while Solomon is praised for arriving at the superior legal judgment, the text makes sure to praise both of them for their deep wisdom and knowledge.
On top of that, David is granted the miraculous skill of armor making, and it says mountains and birds join him in praise. Solomon is granted control over the wind and jinn. The overarching theme here? It's that true wisdom is divine, and all forces of nature are ultimately subject to the divine will.
Section 4. Patience, Repentance, and Mercy.
We are now entering the emotional climax of our explainer. Here, the text shifts to highlight human vulnerability. And it uses this incredibly powerful repeated refrain, Fastajabna lahu, which translates to, so we responded to him. It creates this comforting, almost heartbeat-like rhythm throughout the verses. When these great historical figures face their absolute darkest moments, they called out, and immediately the text replies, so we responded to him. It deeply underscores the idea that God is ever responsive to sincere supplication.
Because, even the greatest prophets had moments of extreme weakness. Job faced severe physical affliction and immense loss. Jonah was literally trapped in the darkness of the belly of the whale. Zechariah faced the deep sorrow of barrenness in his old age. But in every single case, their sincere humility unlocked miraculous divine mercy. Job's health and family were fully restored. Jonah was delivered from his distress. Zechariah was granted a child, John. The text uses these moments to show us that vulnerability isn't a weakness at all. It's actually the very vehicle for divine intervention.
And finally, Section 5, Practical Lessons for Today.
We've covered a whole lot of history and theology today, but let's synthesize all of this into an actionable daily guide. So, the crucial point is, how do we actually apply this? Well, take Jonah's prayer from the belly of the whale. Scholars note that his supplication forms a perfect three-step blueprint for seeking forgiveness when we mess up. Step 1, Tawheed. Acknowledge God's oneness. There is no deity except you. Step 2, Tasbih. Glorify God. Exalted are you. And step 3, Itiraf. Confess your wrongdoing with complete brutal honesty. Indeed, I have been of the wrongdoers. It's a clear-cut, incredibly practical model of repentance that literally anyone can apply when they're trying to make things right.
Let's bring all these incredible themes together into our explainer action plan, pulled directly from this text. First, when you hit adversity, model the steadfast patience or Sabr of Job. Second, when you see corrupted traditions or falsehoods, don't just get angry. Use your intellect and rhetorical wisdom, just like Abraham did. Third, when you make a mistake, use Jonah's three-step model of sincere, humble repentance. And finally, remember the core message of verse 92, you are not alone. You are part of a unified, universal community bound by a continuous spiritual heritage.
Well, we've reached the end of our explainer. The text actually concludes with eschatological warnings reminding the audience that the day of judgment is fast approaching, which frames these stories not just as distant history, but as urgent, present realities. It's a really powerful literary bookend. So I want to leave you with this provocative thought derived straight from the text. As time moves forward, and in the face of whatever trials you are navigating in your life right now, what legacy of virtue are you leaving behind? Take that question with you today. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer of Surah Al-Anbiya, and keep seeking knowledge.